The Katherine elders stood in rigid formation at the edge of the hunting grounds, their obsidian eyes narrowed against the twin suns. For 3 centuries, their species had sent cubs into the wilderness alone, a sacred rite that separated the weak from the worthy. Those who returned became warriors. Those who didn't became lessons. When the distress beacon from Sector 9 had arrived, the Council had no choice but to accept outside assistance. The human vessel Meridian's Hope was the nearest ship, and Captain Lyra Finn had volunteered immediately. The elders had been skeptical. Humans were soft things, they believed, mammals who hunted in packs because they lacked individual strength. Now, as the forest canopy rustled with approaching movement, Elder Vask's 3 hearts hammered with an emotion his kind rarely felt: uncertainty. The cubs emerged first, all 15 of them, alive. This had never happened, not in recorded history. The survival rate was typically 40%, a number the Katherines wore as proof of their species' resilience. But here they were, every single cub accounted for, their silver fur matted with mud and blood, their eyes bright with something the elders couldn't quite identify. Then the human appeared. Captain Lyra Finn was unremarkable by Katherine standards, barely 2 meters tall, lacking claws, fangs, or any natural armor. She wore a tattered survival suit, her dark hair pulled into a practical knot, and her face bore the marks of the forest's cruelty: scratches, bruises, and a particularly nasty cut across her cheekbone that she hadn't bothered to properly treat. Behind her walked Taro, the lead cub, the fiercest of his generation. He moved at her shoulder like a shadow, his posture protective rather than predatory. "This is unacceptable," Elder Vask hissed, his mandibles clicking with fury. "You have violated sacred tradition. The cubs must hunt alone." Lyra stopped 10 paces from the formation, her exhausted eyes meeting Vask's without flinching. "They did hunt alone," she said, her voice hoarse from days without proper rest. "I just made sure they survived it." "Weakness," another elder spat. "You have coddled them, human. You have stolen their chance to prove themselves." Taro stepped forward, and the gathered crowd fell silent. When a cub who had survived the hunt spoke, tradition demanded they be heard. "Elders," Taro began, his voice carrying the rasp of youth but the weight of experience, "the human did not coddle us. She taught us what you never could." Vask's spines flared. "Explain yourself, cub." "On the second day when the Razorback pack cornered us near the canyon, we fought as we were trained, each cub for themselves." Taro's claws flexed at the memory. 3 of us fell. We were ready to accept it as natural selection. Captain Finn was not. Lyra remained silent, but her jaw tightened. "She ran into the fray with nothing but a plasma knife and her wits," Taro continued. "She didn't fight the Razorbacks for us. She showed us how to fight together, how to use the canyon walls, how to coordinate, how to turn 15 individuals into one unstoppable force. We killed the entire pack. All 3 wounded cubs survived. Another cub, smaller and younger, stepped forward. On the 4th day, when the storms came and we scattered, she didn't gather us like helpless prey. She taught us to navigate by the stars we couldn't see, to read the forest's patterns, to leave signs for each other. She made us stronger hunters by teaching us we didn't have to hunt alone." Elder Vask's mandibles worked silently. "Our way has sustained us for millennia." "Your way," Lyra finally spoke, her voice cutting through the tension like steel, "has cost you 60% of every generation for 3 centuries. You call it strength. I call it waste." The crowd murmured, a sound like wind through sharp grass. "I watched these cubs," Lyra continued, taking a step forward. Her exhaustion was evident in every movement, but her conviction burned brighter. "They're natural predators, born hunters with instincts most species would kill for, but you send them out to die because you've confused cruelty with strength. And what would you have us do, human?" Vask challenged. "Abandon our traditions? Become weak like your kind?" Lyra laughed, a bitter, tired sound. "Weak? Elder, my species, conquered a death world where everything wanted to kill us. We had no claws, no venom, no armor. Do you know how we survived? She gestured to the cubs standing around her. We hunted in packs. We shared knowledge. We protected our young fiercely and taught them that survival wasn't about being the strongest individual. It was about making everyone around you stronger. We turned our weakness into our greatest advantage. We became the apex predator of Earth, not despite our need for cooperation, but because of it. Taro moved to stand beside Lyra, and one by one the other cubs joined him, a united front before the elders. The human didn't make us weak, Taro declared. She showed us that we were already strong, we just needed to stop fighting each other to see it. The silence that followed was profound. Elder Vask stared at the cubs, at their unwavering stance, at the human who stood among them like she belonged. His centuries of certainty warred with the evidence before his eyes. 15 living cubs when there should have been 6. 15 potential warriors instead of 9 corpses feeding the forest floor. Finally, he spoke. The council will deliberate on what we have witnessed here. Deliberate all you want, Lyra said, swaying slightly on her feet. But these cubs survived. They learned. They came back stronger and smarter. That's not weakness. That's evolution. As the elders withdrew to confer, the cubs surrounded Lyra, supporting her weight as exhaustion finally claimed her. Taro looked down at the human who had redefined his species' understanding of strength. Why did you do it? He asked quietly. Why risk yourself for cubs of another species? Lyra smiled, her eyes already closing. Because on my world, we have a saying. It takes a village to raise a child. I figured it was time your species learned that the strongest hunters are the ones who never have to hunt alone. As consciousness faded, Lyra didn't see the elders' faces when they returned. She didn't see Elder Vask's slow, deliberate nod, the first crack in 3 centuries of tradition. She didn't see the cubs' eyes shining with something new, something their species had forgotten in their pursuit of solitary strength. But she would wake to find that sometimes, the greatest victory isn't survival. It's teaching others that they don't have to face the darkness alone. The Katherines would remember this day. The day a soft, packless human showed them that true strength wasn't found in isolation, but in the bonds forged between those who refused to let each other fall. And in the years to come, when Katherine cubs entered the hunting grounds, they would no longer go alone. They would go together.